Hello, welcome to today's class. So I thought I'd start quite basic and go from there. So basically, when we are doing astrology, I'm doing obviously sidereal zodiac, and I use Ainamsha called Lahiri. So and because I use obviously I didn't even know there was like a tropical sidereal one zodiac, but to me, the sidereal one, because it's more astronomical and it kind of lines up with the 27 nakshatras in the zodiac, it's much more telling. I just find that it's my chart, although it's not as strong as it is in the tropical one, but it's actually one that I relate to more. So basically, what things go into a chart? So we have the planets, and in sidereal zodiac, we use the luminaries, sun and the moon, and obviously the five planets, which are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and also the nodes, which are the south and north node of the moon, Ketu and Rahu. Rahu being the reason why we are reincarnated, things we don't know about and want to actually discover in this lifetime. And K2 are the things, experiences and memories that we bring in with us into this life. So altogether there are 9 planets or grahas. Graha means something that absorbs or takes the energy, bestows that kind of energy. So planets or grahas are literally a very important part of the birth chart, as they kind of give the person the effects of their actions from their previous lives and experiences they're going to have in this lifetime too. There are 12 zodiac signs, as you know, starting from Aries. Aries, the natural zodiac starts with Aries. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. This is the natural zodiac, and you will always hear from me saying these, natural zodiac, because you can always learn a lot about the natural zodiac, and it helps you read other charts as well. Signs of the zodiac, as we just spoke about, they're also called the Rashis. And there are obviously 12 of them, and each of them in our charts will represent a segment or a part of our life as such. So if you like, the signs show the quality of the effects that planets give, and they colour that expression. And then we have the lunar mansions or nakshatras. So there are 27 of them, and each of them occupies 13 degrees 20 minutes of the zodiac, and each sign or rashi will roughly have about two point something of these, just over 2 of these in them. So because obviously I use equal sign houses or bhavas. Bhavas are called, also houses are the same thing. So each of them will occupy 13 degrees 20, and as I use equal portion houses, it just means that obviously if one nakshatra occupies 1320, you add that to the next one, 1320, so it'd be 2640. So the remainder that's left over, the 3 degrees 20, and the rest of it will be, the next 10 degrees will be in the next rashi or sign. So they're always working behind the signs, and they're very, very important because they colour and bring everything to light, and reveal quite a lot of secrets about each of the rashis or each of the houses or signs. So the houses are very important because each house has some certain indications, and so the moment you're born on the eastern horizon, what will be the sign that you're born into will be your ascendant. So that will be occupied by your first house, or the ascendant as they call it. So, and there are 12 of them, 12 houses, each of them 30 degrees, going all the way around, which is altogether 360 degrees of the zodiac. And so we are going to kind of look at all different things. So obviously we talked about the 12 zodiac signs, as we talked about, and the ascendant obviously being the most important one, or the lagna, you hear it as well. Lagna is Sanskrit word for ascendant, and the whole of Vedic astrology, really. Vedic astrology is I guess a word that the Westerners have given this type of astrology, which is actually really Jyotisha, which is actually Jyotisha, which actually means bringing the light. So it brings light to the person, so you get to know yourself as such, if you like. And there are two different types of charts, and I use a South Indian one, but throughout my lessons I will be using North Indian as well, for those of you who prefer to read that. I actually have a problem with that because I can't actually see the aspects with it. But with the South Indian one, the signs are always the same, they never move. The chart kind of goes clockwise. The only thing that moves is the ascendant. With the North Star one, there's more diamond shape, and the ascendant is always at the top largest diamond. So you can always see the pillars of the chart, which are the four houses, very well. And so yeah, that is that's and that one goes counterclockwise the way you read them, but I just find it really difficult. But obviously for those of you who you know, want to look at it that way, that's absolutely fine. So in the actual chart, if you ever see like retrograde planets will have like an R on them, next to them, which means that planet is retrograde. Rahu, Ketu are normally retrograde, and they travel the opposite way to all the other planets, you know. But yeah, so it's worthy to bear that in mind as well. So this was very quick little look at the charts, if yeah, a little bit of information about everything. So now I want to go and talk about houses. So I do actually have videos on this, but generally speaking, there are 12 houses naturally of the zodiac, as you well know, and the first house, obviously, as we said, that is actually the lagna. If that is you, represents you and everything to do with you and yourself. So first house will be the body and personality, how we look, our constitution, and how we, if you like, how we kind of like, how we look in a sense. So somebody who has got the ruler of the first house, and remember also when I say ruler, so every house, or the 12 zodiac signs, each of them are ruled by a planet. Sun and moon just rule one house each. Moon rules Cancer and Sun rules Leo. Now for each of the ascendants, this could fall in a different house. So for Aries ascendant, for example, moon rules Cancer, which is their 4th house, and Leo rules Leo, which is 5th house for them. For Taurus ascendant, it's actually the moon, it rules their 3rd house, whereas Sun rules their 4th house, and so forth. So Gemini ascendant, so their moon rules Cancer, their second house, and Sun rules their third house. Cancer ascendant obviously rules, moon rules their first house, and Sun rules their second house. Leo ascendant, then Sun rules their first house, Moon rules their 12th house. Virgo ascendant, and you just go all around the zodiac like that. So, but the other planets, apart from Rahu, Ketu, although I do use them, Rahu, Ketu, basically Rahu, Ketu are Ketu is considered, they don't really rule any house as such, according to some of the texts. But by my last teachers, they said that Ketu rules Scorpio and Rahu rules a portion of it, I mean. And also Rahu rules, co-rules Aquarius with Saturn, as obviously Ketu rules Scorpio with Mars. In the natural zodiac as well, just generally speaking, in terms of everybody, obviously we have some really good houses, which will be the trinal houses. First house, the ascendant, fifth house and ninth house. They're trinal to each other, which means they're all 5 houses away from each other, or there's a relationship 5 to 9 between them as well. In astrology, you always count the house that you mean from that house, and you count it in as well. And then you have the angular houses, which are 1st, 4th, 7th and 10th. So they're actually like the pillars of your chart. And then you have the difficult houses 6, 8 and the 12th, which is, so 6th house is house of debt and disease and obstacles, service, daily routines, etc., like that. And obviously then we have 8th house, which is house of divorce, and whereas 6th house is enemies, 8th house is actually your secret enemies. It's house of sex and scandal and taxes and research, astrology, psychotherapy. It represents your in-laws. It represents accidents and surgery, death. 12th house is house of imprisonment, hospitalization, expenses and losses. House of isolation, retraction, sleep and bed pleasures, far away, far distance travel, and settlement as well. And so these are the main kind of houses. So the 6th, 8th and 12th house are considered to be dushtan houses or difficult houses. So it's important to actually realize that as well. So in terms of houses, so first house will be your body, and as I said, personality and everything. So it's a very important house. And if the ruler of that house, because obviously we said that Sun and Moon rule one house each, but the other planets, so it will be Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus and Saturn. Each of them rules 2 houses. And planets are from 2 different camps, basically. They either are the camp of Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, or from the camp of Mercury, Venus, and Saturn. And you normally find that if they are from one camp, they don't really get on with the other camp so much, apart from Sun and Mercury. They do get on, actually. They do work quite well in each other's houses, and they travel around the zodiac quite happily next to each other as well. So basically Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. Taurus and Libra will be ruled by Venus. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. And Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. And Jupiter rules Pisces and Sagittarius. Right, so we go through the house numbers now. We said about the first house, so I just kind of had to put that in. Second house is house of money and wealth, house of family family values, how you value yourself, your resources, your sustenance, the money that you have, the money that you have in the bank. It's house of wealth, basically. Third house is house of younger siblings, and it's house of friends and neighbours and colleagues and interests, writing, the arts, your self-expression, your thinking process, how dexterous you are, what you can make with your hands, um, all of those things. House of travel as well, short distance travel, anything like house of kind of walking and that it's kind of like the exercise that you do will be third house, whereas it's kind of different, slightly different to sports. Sports is like fifth and sixth house. Then we have fourth house, which is house of family. So it's house of family and happiness and your memories, the way you think of yourself, about yourself, your how you were nurtured and nourished by your mother, your happiness, your vehicles, your property and house, and how you can enjoy life, how you can receive in love and from others, how you can your receptivity, all of those things, your emotional heart, your heart chakra is fourth house. Third house is your throat chakra, and sun and moon rule your sort of like your um, third eye, and the kind of crown. Moon ruling your third eye, and crown is ruled by the sun. And then we have fifth house, which is Purva Punya house, which is like good luck from the previous life. It's one of the trinal houses, the same as the first house. House of children, creativity, house of the arts, all of the arts, anything from music, writing, singing, performance, photography, all of that is all to do with that. It's house of romance and partying and enjoyment, house of learning and teaching, counseling, and investments. Sixth house is house of enemies and debt, obstacles, divorce, arguments, house of service, house of pets, house of daily routine, everything that you do from the moment you wake up. So you shower and get ready and eat your breakfast, get yourself to work, all of that, chores and all that sort of stuff are there. Seventh house is house of work as well, by the way. Sixth house. Seventh house is house of spouse, house of relationships, house of other people. How other people see you is seen through the seventh house. House of business, partnerships and things like that as well. And it's house of commerce, giving and taking. Eighth house is house of longevity, death, house of surgeries, divorce and all that kind of stuff, taxes, accounts, things like that. House of astrology. Ninth house is house of virtue, house of happiness and good luck from previous life. It's house of father, gurus, teachers, house of far distance travel, higher education, house of religion, spirituality, house of publishing, learning. 10th house is house of activity in the world, house of karma, house of career, work. 11th house is house of gains, because the second house is from, so your second house is second house from your, so it kind of sustains the first house. And so all of the angular houses have got a house sustaining it, really. So fifth house is the second house from what sustains the relationship, and home is children and happiness. Um, so that's second from your fourth house. House of seventh house, second house from that is your house of what your partner earns, so it's their earnings. And 11th house is house of your work and what you earn from your work. It's house of gains, large groups of friends, networks, large organizations. And then we have 12th house, which is house of loss and expenses and sleep and dreaming, bed pleasures, losses, house of thinking process, imagination, daydreaming, house of far away, far distance travel, far away lands, and house of hospitalization, recuperation, ashrams, things like that. So, and then we have, so obviously, first house is your head, and it's your constitution as well. And second house is your face, your mouth, and your tongue, and also your neck as well. So it just gives you the speech as well, and very much to do with the family and everything that you own as well. So if you have jewels and jewelry and pieces of art and everything else, they all go into this kind of wealth of the family, if you like. Third house is really house of courage as well. It's a house of effort. So somebody who's got like first house going into the third house, excuse me, it means that you have put the effort into your own life, if you like. So it's very, very amazing. And it's as I said, it's house of desires as well. And also it rules your hands, arms, shoulders, top of your back as well. And fourth house is your chest and lungs and emotional heart. Also menstruation for ladies. Fifth house being your abdominal area, and also your heart, your physical heart. Sixth house being your digestive system. It also rules your aunts and uncles as well. And litigation, conflicts, wounds and injuries as well. Seventh house is your kidneys, lower back, and also your sexual areas, but the outside. Eighth house is your it's kind of house of sudden gains, like lotteries as well, scandals. House of reproductive organs and sexual organs, and elimination as well. Ninth house is obviously your house of your fortunes, and it's your house of law and ethics and dharma and doing the right action in the world. It also rules your hips and thighs as well. 10th house is house of knees, authorities and bosses as well. And your profession, as we said, your status. Your 11th house is house that rules your calves, shins and ankles. And this is the house of serious house of desires. And 12th house is house of feet. Pisces basically is house of feet. And so now that we know these things, we will be able to actually apply them to the charts as well. So we also need to know that also first, fifth, and ninth houses represent our dharma or our path in the world. Arthur houses second, sixth, and 10th are about actually making money, and there's a desire to earn money, accumulate wealth and possessions and all the material comforts of life and prosperity. Third house is Kama, Kama, which is house of desires, and these houses are 3rd, 7th and 11th houses. And so these are all about having like pleasures and tantalizing your senses and the physical aspect of life, if you like. And it's very much to do with your absolute desires, if you like. So, and moksha houses are 4th, 8th, and 12th, which are about spiritual liberation. And so Dharma houses tend to be fiery houses, 1st, 5th, and 9th in a natural zodiac. And Artha houses are earthy ones, which are more to do with material, tangible material things. Desire ones are more to do with air elements and communication and connection like that. And moksha houses are much more to do with emotions, so they're all watery houses as well. So we spoke about 1st, 5th, and 9th and all of the angular houses. So trine houses are very important. Trinal houses and their lords are very good at giving you a lot of success in life, particularly if they're very good condition as well. And normally you find in most charts, well, in all charts, 1st, 5th, and 9th houses are normally very good for that ascendant. And then we have the angular houses is considered very good as well, because obviously they give you the kind of direction in life, if you like. It's always good when you have a planet in one of those houses. Very, very good. And trick houses, as we said, or the dushtan has are 6th, 8th, and 12th houses. They're considered difficult houses, so they can actually spoil wherever they are. They can spoil a little bit the indications of those houses. 3rd house is mildly bad because this house is desire, and it means a lot of effort has got to go into it. But it is like 6th, 10th, and 11th house. These are also what are considered to be upachaya houses, so they get better as we get older, because we get to know how we have experiences through life, and then once we know and use them properly, we can have really good outcomes out of those. 2nd and 11th houses, they are neutral houses, but they're a house of wealth, really, so they're all to do with gain and prosperity. And 11th house is also considered another difficult house as well. 3rd and 11th houses. So basically 3rd, 6th, 8th, 11th house and 12th house can be difficult houses. There are also maraka houses, which are actually, they normally are kind of difficult houses in terms of kind of, sometimes for some people when they're activated 2nd, 7th, and so 8th house, I would put that as a maraka house as well. It can actually be like end of somebody's life as well, but I don't want you to get scared about that, because a lot of things have got to be considered before you can say somebody has, you know, somebody's death is coming. I actually don't even know how to do that, so I wouldn't want to teach it anyway. So 1st house will be self. 2nd house will be the wealth I have, or my family wealth. 3rd house will be my young sibling. 4th house will be my mum. 5th house will be my children. 6th house will be my enemies. 7th house will be my spouse. 8th house will be my longevity and also my secret enemies. 9th house will be my father and also my fortune. 10th house, my profession. 11th house is my elder sibling. And 12th house is house of loss. So there are things called Karakas as well, and I have obviously used them. Karaka means significators. So sun is the indicator of self, or the 1st house. 2nd house indicator is Jupiter. 3rd house indicator or Karaka is Mars. 4th house is Moon. 5th house is Jupiter. 6th house is Mars. 7th house is Venus. 8th house is Saturn. 9th house is Jupiter. 10th house is Mercury. 11th house is Jupiter. And Saturn is the Karaka for the 12th house. So it's always worth knowing these things. We'll come to them over and over again. It's just one of those things that we need to just keep doing until we really get it right. So this is it, folks. This is a short little lesson on these very important things. Thank you. See you on the next one.